so good. I loved it. Anybody see my sweet ninja moves coming up here? Oh, it's so good. I'm legitimately 100% true out of breath from rolling over that way, flopping onto the stage like a beached sea lion, and then trying to find like there's some kind of like old French fries on the beach. That's me. I'm an old sea lion. Has anybody seen an elephant seal? Do you know what an elephant seal is? Look it up. That's my role model in life. I just want to be an elephant seal. Just 1,000 pounds of beach body, just laying out there. It'd be so great. Even the fighting is lazy for elephant seals. They just, There's the name of the game is just, I'm gonna put my belly on yours. They don't actually fight. It's just the first one to get grossed out who loses. Oh, put my belly on another seal. And they're like, ew, gross. I know, my spirit animal is an elephant seal. I would have said a whale, but that's just too much. Oh. All right, anyways. How's everybody doing tonight? Good? Awesome. I love the enthusiasm from absolutely nobody. How are you guys doing tonight? All right, thank you. You win. You win the prize. Wonderful. Awesome stuff, guys. You guys are super duper at Pictionary. I was trying to come up with like hard things and you guys were getting them instantly, so be 100% honest, and I'll even give you more points if you're honest. Who cheated in that game? At least one. Yeah. Couple over here. All right, they win. Yay, cheating. No. All right. It's not fun if you cheat, except sometimes, like in video games, cheat codes are the best. But, all right. So we're going to be talking more about our series FAM here. You know, who knows what their FAM is? Yeah, that's cool. Oh, look at that. Say famine? Yeah, we're going to be talking about famine. What's up, fam? Like, no, we're not talking about famine. We're talking more about family, right? So stealthy. Salmon from the famine for your family. Okay. So, we're going to be talking about family, right? And here's the thing. Regardless of your circumstance, regardless of what your life actually looks like, every single person has a family, right? Now, nobody's family is going to look the same, but we do all have families, right? The thing about families, someone said, unless you're what? Were you making fun of me? Unless you're heavy? I'm like, oh. My kids disowned me. No, everybody has a family, right? But they all look different. Every single one looks different. And then one of the hardest things you can deal with in your family unit is change, right? Has anybody's family changed over the past year? Just in the past year, you're like, whoa, this changed horribly, right? Maybe for the better, who knows? But I was trying to think really hard about a story about my family changing when I was a kid. And so I would say right when I was maybe 7th grade, could be 6th grade, in there somewhere, I was trying to think, like, okay, so how do I relate to the middle school students? What kind of stuff happened in my life that changed over the years? I couldn't think of a single thing that happened in my family that changed over my, like, teenage years. And then I realized I was the thing that changed, right? So when you think of something that happens in your family that changes you or changes your family for better or for worse, I was the thing that changed in my family and ruined it all. No, that's true. That's really true. Like, you can laugh, like it's funny now, right? But good job. You ruined your family. No, but whenever, have you ever had like that thing in your family that's like the person or the experience where it's like, oh, that's when this all went bad, right? Like when my parents got divorced, that's when my family went bad. Or when my siblings left the house, that's when my family got bad, right? When I was in middle school, like around 7th grade, I realized my parents don't actually control anything about my life. Because we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have anything for them to take away, right? And I just was like, I can really do whatever I want. And nobody can really do anything to stop me. But here's the thing, right? You would think that in my home, in my house, and the way that things were for me, I realized, like, wow, I might be the boss around here, right? So I started doing things. I started acting out. Who here's ever done something dumb or bad just to push the envelope? Just to do it? Yeah? Today, right? Who here's ever done something so bad that, they made people in their lives cry? Yeah? Who's ever done something so bad in your life that you made your teachers cry? Yeah. Yeah. I realized that I could be the bad influence. I realized I could be this, like, the bad person. Think of, like, the person in your life that is, like, the bad guy, right? Not the Billie Eilish song, right? But the actual bad guy, right? Think about that person. And that's who I realized I wanted to be. All right, I wanted to be the bad guy. I wanted people to pay attention to me for any reason, even if it meant bad stuff. All right, so it came to the point one day where I was actually fighting with my parents, and I was kind of pushing the envelope a little bit, and I was talking to my mom on the phone. We used to have these phones that didn't, they weren't like this. They were like, had cords and junk on them. And so I was talking to my mom on the phone, and she got off the phone with me. I found out years later that she was slamming the phone to hang it up so much she broke the phone. And that was the moment that I feel like it all just went downhill from there, right? Like, I don't want to say like gave up, right? Because nobody gave up. But it was definitely this moment of, wow, I'm the one in the family that everybody like doesn't like. When we go places and we're talking to like, when there's like, oh, look, it's Sally's family's coming over. Oh, but they're bringing Jerry. Like, that was me, right? I realized that pretty early on. And so it just kept getting worse until I was doing things that I literally could not get out of, right? I'm not going to talk about those things because it's about the change. It's not about the things that I've done. Now, think about your family, right? You think about your family, the change that you've had just over the past year, the past 2 years, whatever it is. And those changes can be any number of things, right? They can be, maybe there was a new person added to your family, a new step-parent, a new sibling, whatever it is, right? Those new things can be stressful. Maybe somebody got sick or hurt. Did anybody ever have anybody in their family get like really sick or really hurt and it completely changed everything? Yeah, that stuff can happen, right? I know a lot of times, especially like in this climate, COVID and stuff, people are just losing their jobs left and right, and that can change stuff. All right, or like maybe they had like an older sibling that left, right? They moved out of the house, or there was a divorce and they went with somebody else. Or like family circumstances in general can change. Like, hey guys, guess what? We're not going to be living here anymore. We got to move. Anybody ever move in their life? Had to leave their friends and whatnot? Yeah, that stuff ain't good.
I moved next door, and then I
That's also a difficult situation, right? So moving is always tough. Or maybe, like, you don't have to raise your hand on this one, but there are things in your life that are so difficult and painful to talk about that they completely destroy your family. And maybe you're not even with your family anymore. Or you don't have a family at all, so you think anymore, right? You get put in foster care. You can get all kinds of things. These terrible, horrible things can happen in our family units, right? And I think we can all think of somebody who has a circumstance like that. And these changes that happen in our family are extremely difficult. All right? Has anybody ever had a change in their family that they just feel like, oh man, I cannot do this? Like, that stuff is pretty common. Because families are hard. Families are really tricky. And all the changes aren't necessarily good, right? Sometimes we have good changes. But sometimes change can be really, really hard. Like, just think about, like, you guys might know Joseph from the Bible, all right? Like, that guy was the best thing about his family. He loved every bit of it. And then all of a sudden, he got sold into slavery. He got put in prison. Like, he got forgotten about. All of that stuff, right? And so all of those changes in your life can be really hard. Now, the question is, what do we actually do about it? What do we do about these changes in our lives? I don't know. I'll see you guys. No. What do we do about these changes? All right, so we're going to go into the Bible here. We're going to look at what the Bible says. We're going to be hanging out in the book of Isaiah. And so the first passage we're going to talk about is Isaiah 43, chapter 43, verse 2. Chapter 43, verse 2. So I have it up here on the board. If you have your own Bible, it'd be worth highlighting. It's a good verse to kind of keep popping back to. And so Isaiah 43 verse 2 says this: when you pass through the waters, I will be with you. This is God talking to the people of Israel, right? So Israel's like God's chosen people. He's talking about all these things that are like hard for them. This is that. So when you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze. So did you know that only 6 inches of water that's moving can knock someone off their feet and sweep them away? 6 inches of water. I know like a long time ago there were these tsunamis, and I was like, they were only like 3-foot waves. How bad is that? And then I found this out, and that's so much pressure, right? You think of the power of water, the power of waves, the power of fire. All of this stuff is so destructive. It's like back at this time, these are the things, like the worst things that can happen to people, right? Water coming through, fire, all that. And God can protect you from all of it. So when you're thinking about your family dynamic, your family unit, the thing that's changing, the destruction that's happened, maybe it's, okay, my parents are getting divorced or worse, whatever's happening, and it feels like your whole world is falling apart, remember that this is a thing that God promises us, right? When you pass through the waters, he'll be with us. When you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. You'll walk through the fire, you won't be burned. All of these things are extremely important for us to keep in our hearts. The next verse is pretty similar. It's only back just a little bit. It's Isaiah 41:10. All right, and so this one here is just another, like, continuing on that verse, right? It says, so do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you and uphold you with my righteous right hand. What does it mean to be upheld by something? Right? Has anybody in here like run? Does anybody like to run in here? Yeah, not me, okay? But some people do. All right, when you run, you reach this place where you feel like your body is just going to completely and totally fall out from under you, right? So when you feel like your body's going to collapse because you can't take it anymore, someone can come alongside you and physically hold you up, right? That's upholding you, to keep you up. God promises to do that in our lives. When things feel like they're way too hard and you can't do anything about it, remember that God is there, that the world is going to try to knock you down, and God will be there to hold you up. So I was talking about how bad I was in middle school and everything else, right? And my life just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse. I would have thought that it would have got better in high school, but it didn't, right? I just kept making bad decisions. And they got so bad that I barely graduated high school. And that's to say the least. There's all, like, if you can think of the bad things that happened, those are the bad things that happened, right? And so it got to the point where I almost didn't graduate high school. I had a teacher that like showed me mercy and let me get out of this class with a C-. I was a senior in a freshman class, right? I was not a smart guy. I graduated with like a 2.1 or something like that. And so he barely let me out of his class. And so I was just kind of owning this, like, what is happening to my life? I'm the thing destroying my family. And so I decided that I was going to make a change. And so I went off and I joined the Army. And there is actually a place where I kind of like was able to hide and hang out and do great things. And then the worst of the worst happened. And so I actually ended up getting hurt in the Army and destroying my family even more through other ways, right? So my brother thought that I was taking all the attention. Nobody knows what my sister thought, right? That was a whole different story. My parents were just too focused on everything else that was going on with me to even think about everybody else. So I was kind of like, not only did I steal all the attention and the drama from when I was in high school, because I'm like, oh, look at me, I'm blowing up. But when I tried to become an adult and do other things, all the attention swept back again. Like, oh, look, there's John getting all the attention, right? However, all of these bad things that I thought were happening to my family, God was able to use all those for good, right? He was able to hold me up when everything was crashing down, right? My whole world exploded. My family was blowing up. But through all this stuff, I was able to find Jesus. I was able to get help. I was able to, put the pieces of my life back together, to build something. I got married. Through that, we were able to rebuild the relationships in our family, slowly and surely, and everything else, right? And now things have actually never been better than they ever had, right? Things are better than they've ever been, right? And so all of these things that I just made these horrible decisions in my life, and some things I couldn't control, going down and down and down and down and down, and it seemed like it was never going to get any better. Eventually, God was able to work through that, right? And so when I felt like I couldn't do anything, God was holding me up. When I felt like it was the end of the line, God was able to carry me through that fire and everything else. And so what I want to talk to you guys about here is what we do in these situations. When the world is blowing up, when there's no one to turn to, when there's nothing to do, we can always rely on God. So the first thing that we can do is when things are blowing up, when our family is changing, the first thing we can do is focus on God, right? We focus on God and we focus on what's good. That can be really, really hard. Has anybody ever been in a situation in their life when they feel like there's absolutely no good happening whatsoever? Yeah, that can be really tough. So what we need to do is, the first thing we need to do is we need to kind of recenter ourselves, focus on God, and we need to think about what are the actual things that are good in my life. Now that really honestly might be the best thing in your life, is that you actually get to still talk to God. That might be a truth, because everything else might be going wrong. But you can always talk to God. You're always like, okay, what's the best thing in my life? Well, I'm alive. That's good, right? You can find these things. Focus on the good in your life rather than the bad in those situations. I talked about Joseph. He was able to be like, man, I got sold into slavery. If you don't know anything about that, that's generally not good, right? So he was able to work really hard and become like the head of his master's house. Then he got put in prison. He's like, man, this is really not good. What am I going to do? He worked really hard and got put in charge of all the other prisoners in that prison ward, right? Then he was like, oh man, this isn't good. Pharaoh wants to see me, right? But guess what? He worked really hard. He was able to use his gifts that God gave him, and he got in charge of everything, right? So focusing on the good is hard, but it's also extremely important. The other thing you can think about, which I actually never thought about before, was what is happening to the rest of your family, right? What's happening to everybody else in this circumstance? It's really hard for you personally, yes, but what about your brother or sister? Who's actually there for them? Sometimes I think back like, man, what would have happened if I tried to rally around my little brother, right? I don't know. Maybe things would have been different. And it's a real honest story here. It hurts me in my heart sometimes. Thinking about am I responsible for that? It's really tough, right? But if you make these decisions, man, it's hard for that person. What would happen if I rallied around this person and I encouraged them? And I'm like, we're going to get through this together. I don't know what that means, but we're going to do it. Instead of everybody kind of going to the wind, right? So encouraging your family is extremely important, right? So know that with change in your life, which is inevitable, with change in your family, which is going to happen no matter what, know that God is with you. Know that there are still good things in your life, even if it's just the one thing that God is with you. Right? Those are important things to remember. So when the change is happening, focus on God, and God puts people in your life to help you. So if you can open up just a little bit, like that emotional crack in the door, and you can just open up that tiny, teeny bit, there are people in your life who want to help you, who want to talk to you and help guide you, right? Life group leaders are a massive one. All the adults in this room are here because they want to be here, right? They're here for you, to listen to you, to talk to you, and to help you find God. All right, there's all kinds of people. When things are blowing up, look for the adults that stick around, right? It's going to be great. So let us help you, let God help you, let us lead you towards God when your family changes and when things are different. All right, today we're going to be closing up here. We're going to be talking about families and life group. So I want you guys to kind of get into a different place than normal, right? Get into this place of actual like vulnerability and be like, what is change in my life? Like, what's the change that's happening in my family? Like, what are the things that I might actually need to talk to someone about? And then talk to your life group leaders about that. Talk to us about that. Either me, Zoe, Nate, anybody like that, right? We're here for you guys, and we're here to remind you that God is ultimately the thing that you can rely on. All right, cool. Let me pray for us, and then I'll dismiss you guys into life groups, okay? Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for this group of young men and women that we can come here and we can just listen to you and have fun, rock out, play some picture games, and apparently draw me in pictures, but that's okay. Lord, thank you for our families, even though they're difficult. They challenge us. They just put us in situations that we need you to guide us through. Lord, give us wisdom tonight in our groups to speak and to know what to talk about. Lord, give us strength and courage to actually be vulnerable tonight in our life groups. Lord, give our leaders courage and wisdom to help the students through all this. And just guide us tonight. Lord, we love you in your name. Amen.